I had a very funny dream last night that you had asked me to fill in for a band that you were drumming for, and I was going to play bass and sing, and you asked me 5 minutes before the show.
Great.
And then
love that.
3 songs into the show, you just walked off stage, and I had to finish it by myself. It was really funny.
That's damn. Dick move, me. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music through the lens of our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Matt Kistler.
And I'm Troy Sennett.
And today we are talking about Rise Against's album, The Black Market. This came out on Interscope back in July of 2014 on the 15th, conspicuously not anywhere near the 4th like some of these other Rise Against albums we've run into. It was, produced by the same team that it's been produced by that this band's been produced by for many years now, mixed by the same guy, mastered by the same guy, but to run it down for anybody who hasn't been keeping up, produced by Bill Stevenson and Jason Livermore, mixed by Chris Lord-Alge, and mastered by Ted Jensen. This record, I didn't like it back when it came out, and I think I maybe listened to it once and did not listen to it again. I might not have finished it. I literally don't remember like half these songs. So I can't say I have much history with it. Troy, I feel like you're in the same boat, right?
I mean, pretty much. I was thinking about it, and it feels like I have a weirdly similar experience to this album as I did with Endgame, where it came out around a time of big life transition for me, because I moved to Chicago a month before this album came out, and I was still nominally a fan of the band. I would listen to the older records sometimes. I saw them on this tour at that notoriously muddy set at Riot Fest in 2014 that basically single-handedly got the fest kicked out of Humboldt Park.
Yep.
But the big difference is I have no memory of this album coming out. I guess I probably listened to it at some point in 2014, but I could not tell you what I thought of it then. And then, funny enough, I did a discography listen back in 2021, I believe it was, when they played Riot Fest again, and just forgot to include this album in my discography listen. It was still not in my iTunes when we decided to do this series for the show. So I have probably heard it before, but I had basically no memory of it, and I was just going on its reputation of it being the worst Rise Against album, the boring one, the bad one, whatever. I found I even at the end of last week's episode, I kind of quipped that this is a bad album, and as I listened to it throughout the week, it grew on me a lot more than I expected it to. I think this album has, when we'll get into it obviously, but they talk about this as an introspective album, something less political than their past work, and I just, as I listened to it more and more, I locked into this idea. I think that it's dealing with that it's interrogating the idea of comfort and who gets to be comfortable and at whose expense, and asking yourself do I deserve comfort, and if I can justify my own comfort, how do I keep it from turning into complacency? And I think those are inherently political questions, and I think this album engages with them in an interesting way, which is kind of more than I can say about Endgame, weirdly, even though I think that album has some better songs than this one does. But I actually really enjoyed digging into this album over the past week. How did you feel about it, getting back to it or to it for the first time now?
I feel like it grew on me a little bit too, and it really wasn't apparent in the moment, because We'll get into it, but I feel like this album does not start off strong, and I think it sets kind of you could say it sets a low bar. I don't really know that that's necessarily the case, but I was a little prepared to be disappointed as things kind of went on here, and I wasn't. I found myself giving props to more songs than I would have thought. One of them maybe notwithstanding. I tried to extract some good out of that one, but whatever. We'll get to it. Yeah, I think you're spot on with kind of the how this album kind of unearths whether it is explicitly or not the fact that the personal and the political have always been the same thing, if you are thinking about it. even if you're not thinking about it, it still is. But, you know, people love to pretend the two are different to this day, more than 10 years later. But yeah, I really did find more to appreciate about this album than I did back in the day, and definitely more than I did going into this now. I was kind of bracing myself to hate this record, and I definitely don't hate it. I don't know how much desire I'm going to have to come back to it. But I wasn't disappointed in the time that I spent with it in the last week.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Maybe it's a product of really low expectations, but I found some stuff to like here. I think, you know, it's kind of worth talking about sort of how they got to this album, that they took a year off in 2013, and after feeling pretty burned out from touring, and so it ends up being their longest gap between albums yet, like 3.5-ish years.
Yep.
And instead of just like getting a practice space in Chicago and writing, they would write a little bit in like various studios around the country. Did you watch the little making of video?
Yeah. The electronic press kit that is also a making of video. That was kind of bizarre, but I kind of loved it.
It's a pretty cool background on the album. But one of the things they talk about is like Tim says their writing process was the same, but they made different choices than they would have before. I don't know how much I think that is the case, or how much, you know, those different choices worked out. But I did think it was interesting that he says it's not a part 2 of any of their previous albums, just in how they approached it, which is, I guess, an interesting thing to say when they also did, I guess, thinking about Comfort, go back to the same team that they've been working with on all but, you know, one of their albums basically for the last decade. They say they don't subscribe to switching producers, that like you find what works and stick with it. And that, you know, they're comfortable with the kind of level of honesty and the way that Bill Stevenson and Jason Livermore push them. And do you think that all kind of comes through on the record? Do you think they're starting to sound tired on this album or anything because of working with the same people? I'm not sure of. I can see where the different choices come in, because I feel like there are some not necessarily production level choices, but like some like melodies that just kind of sound like they are specifically trying not to sound like Rise Against, but it's Tim, so it kind of sounds like Rise Against anyway. But yeah, I don't know about like some of these songs definitely do sound more world weary than they should. Maybe not world weary, but maybe just regular weary. World weariness is a thing Rise Against has always had. But like kind of like I alluded to earlier, like the first couple songs on this are just like pretty low energy compared to what I would expect Rise Against openers to be. And like it's a little hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, but just like it's just little things kind of in the choices that were made. I mean, I think I do know what it is.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah, I think there's two things going on. I think one is that Tim is singing notably more than he's screaming. His voice sounds, and whether this is when he kind of realized his voice just can't do the sound that it had been doing for so long, I'm not sure. But yeah, like I think part of it is the performances, and part of it is like these songs are long. Like
they are long.
Most of the songs on this album are over 4 minutes long. I didn't go back and check and see if that was the case with like any of their other albums. I'm just scrolling back up to Endgame. Endgame has one song that's dead on the 4 minute mark and one that's over. And you know, looking at previous albums, like they barely ever would crack 4 minutes on a song.
Yeah.
And this is like over half of the songs are well over 4 minutes long on this album. And it leads to the whole thing just feeling like a little sludgy in terms of its pacing, not like necessarily in the actual tempos, but just in the, okay, we've been in this song for a while, or we've been in this part for a while. And particularly the parts too, like a lot of these songs have really long pre-choruses, I noted.
Yeah, definitely.
Where like, we even talked about, you pointed out, especially on Suffer and the Witness, I think like the pre-choruses are so tight and great at like moving you into the chorus with a ton of energy. And I just think a lot of this album does not have that. And that I think is really what contributes to it feeling kind of tired, I guess.
Yeah, I can totally see that. It's interesting to me. Like, I'm scrolling through my notes here, and I know for a fact that I said of a few songs on Endgame, this song is too long. And I didn't say that here, and that might just have been an expectation setting thing right out the gate, because they're all kind of that long with a couple of exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, even the like barn burner hardcore song on this album is like almost 3 minutes.
Almost 3 minutes, which is wild.
Yep. But yeah, so I think that all those things are kind of contributing to this album being a bit of a. I mean, I guess it was received as a letdown when it came out. Like I said, I didn't really go back and read any reviews of it, but like I don't know anyone that speaks super highly of this as a Rise Against album. Barring a couple of songs that have endured. I mean, I think we can kind of just get into the songs. I think we're going to get into a lot of this stuff in detail with as we get into the track list.
Yeah, one thing
unless
I
you
do
have anything else to say beforehand.
Literally, the only thing I had to say was I did think it was very funny when Jason Livermore said to Brandon Barnes, "Yeah, I mean, I think your son could play better than you are right now."
Oh, that was a good bit of that video.
And Brandon's like, "Are you getting this?" Which, like, that I will say that, like, to the point of like the going back to the same production team constantly, it does seem like they have a good relationship on that front, in that, like, they know that Bill and Jason are going to push them, and they're going to push them in a way that will produce something better than what they brought in originally. And like, I think kind of having that knowledge, like, not going back to them because like it's a good hang, like, would be one thing, but I think this is okay in ways, but I'm sure any relationship like that is going to wear over time, which, I haven't listened to Wolves in a while, but we might get to that more next week. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question about that producer artist relationship is like, sure, they might be comfortable with telling them to say, like, play better or whatever, like, do this part better, but are they helpful as editors? And I think that's where a producer can be really helpful, and I think that's what this album needs a little bit of. It's a little bit of an edit.
Definitely.
But yeah, so it starts off with the Great Die Off, which has something that they've never done before, a big orchestral intro.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a cool thing. It definitely, like, hooks me in on this album as like, I guess they are trying something different here. And then the song is kind of a by the numbers Rise Against album opener that just feels, for whatever reason, like less potent than it should.
I may offer a thing right out the gate that might contribute to that. The bass just follows the guitar in the non-string intro part, and that's wild to me. I know Joe has more in the tank than that.
Yeah, and he does on some songs on this album, but yeah, the bass definitely doesn't stand out like it should, or like it has in the past on their stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, that I do like that string intro, but I am not sure why it's there, aside from like to kind of brace you for, like, okay, this is going to be something different. But the fact that it turns around and just becomes like this kind of middle of the road Rise Against opener, I don't know that it warrants that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that lyrically, like, it's hitting on a lot of the same themes that Rise Against has always hit on. And I think notably, just from the first line, is this idea that that like the wealthy, the upper class, the people who are sort of inherently comfortable are under threat from this, whether it's natural disaster, whether it's an uprising. Like, it's I think that starts off the album in a way that, I don't know, it's a good thesis for an album that is kind of introspectively about the idea of comfort. But yeah, I just I don't know. I think the "we want it all and we want it now" is like it's a very cliche line, even though it's sung in Tim's like trademark pretty catchy way. Like, you kind of want to sing along to it. But yeah, he just sounds smoothed out in a way that I don't really want him to on a Rise Against album.
Definitely. Yeah, specifically the line "We want it all and we want it now" is just like I know they can do better than that.
Yeah,
there are a few lines on this album where I'm like, really, guys, like you didn't think a little harder about this one.
Yep. I do like the bridge that has the kind of really reverby, echoey snare drum thing going on in there. That's one of the spots where I was like, oh, I can see that they intentionally wanted to do a slightly different kind of sounding bridge in this song for them, and I think that's a choice that works. Maybe not everyone on this album does.
Yeah. My comment on that bridge, like I do like that kind of that snare sound that they do, but I feel like the bridge wants to go harder and it just doesn't. And that was probably an intentional choice, and I don't know that it works.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I don't know. I see what you mean about already feeling like this album gets off on the wrong foot with this song.
Yeah.
And then it goes to "I Don't Want to Be Here Anymore," which we just have to make the joke about the title once. Like, you just can't do that.
Yeah, you really can't.
You can't do that on a song that sounds this tired. But I don't know. It's just too easy of a target.
And it's the lead single, right?
It is. Yeah, it is the lead single off this album. And I was trying to think of, like, I must have listened to this song and just not been that into it, and that's why I didn't like keep up with the album.
I believe it.
Yeah. But this is one of those ones, like, the pre-chorus is feels like it's half the song. And I mean, and I kind of like it as a song about sort of being at your low point and pulling yourself back up. Like, I think that is an idea that this album it kind of deals with a lot. Yeah, if this is the introspective version of the band, it kind of feels like the defeated version of the band, which I think is not great. I don't know. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I can see where the kind of theme of the feeling of being defeated is essential in an album like this, where you are introspecting on on classic Rise Against themes. You know, kind of where is my place in this effort to make the world a better place, and what am I doing to support the people who are trying to do that, and being defeated feeling defeated is, well, I guess being defeated too is definitely part of that, and like that is, I think, in the interest of painting a holistic picture of a person who is, you know, out here doing their best. I think it's valuable to talk about, but yeah, like, to your point, the song just sounds tired. I absolutely hate the line, "We took no for answers far too long." Like, that, nobody heard that and went, that doesn't sound right at all.
Yeah, it's just like it's forcing the idea into the melody or whatever that it doesn't end up working. Exactly.
And like, there's a bunch of haze on this song. Like, the gang vocals on this song just don't sound right for some reason. I will say in the bridge where there's like kind of the layering of the vocals and like an echo of the vocals is kind of cool, but like it's like the only thing that I like about this song. Like, it gets stuck in my head, but I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the bridge is just also what they did in "Help Is On the Way," which was also the lead single from Endgame. It is truly like retreading the same basic idea.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have a ton more to say on that song. It really, really kind of, if not over to, like, a pretty half-hearted contact on these.
Yeah, we're at like 0.9 for 2 or something like that, I think. I will say the video for this is pretty effective. You know,
tell me. So I didn't watch the music videos this time, but tell me.
Oh yeah, so like, it's, you know, it's not that dissimilar to other Rise Against videos in that it is like a lot of figures being put up on the screen, but it you know, they do some like kind of brief interviews with folks from Chicago who are regularly experiencing gun violence, and, you know, a couple of other folks from around the US, but like, they kind of try to cover a wide swath of like what they're touching on in terms of violence, because, you know, it's gun violence, it's coups in other countries, it's violence against animals, it's animals about to go extinct, which, you know, all very, you know, important things to this band, so like I don't disparage them for kind of going broad on that one. But yeah, it's not dissimilar to other videos we've seen from them. But it does, I feel like, kind of make the effort to make it a little more personally effective by like really like talking about individual stories. Like there are straight up like there's talking while like the instrumental is going, which is an interesting thing to do in a music video. But like, you know, beyond that, I wouldn't say that you missed a ton.
Yeah. I should check those out. I just totally blanked on watching the music videos.
You don't need to check out the one for the next song. It's nothing.
Oh, is it just like a performance video?
It's a performance video with like interstitial shots of a woman. I think it's the person from, I shouldn't say woman, I don't want to assume, but the person who's on the cover, I believe. It's very weirdly lit, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Okay.
Like a lot of strobe lights and stuff, but like it is mostly a band performance with like just some shots of this person's head.
I mean, I might watch it anyway, because so this song is Tragedy in Time.
Yeah.
Or Tragedy plus Time. I really like this song. I think this is pretty easily the highlight of the album. It feels like kind of in the vein of Paper Wings, in terms of the kind of place on the album and the mode of Rise Against that it's working in. It's got Joe like rocking in the verses, which is great.
Yep.
Good bass stuff. The chorus I think is so catchy. It's got this ping-pongy guitar riff that I think is cool. And the 6/8 bridge, like this song just does a lot of the Rise Against tricks I like really well. And then I also just, I think the lyrics are pretty good. For that kind of more personal Rise Against song, I think. Do you like this one?
Yeah, I really like this one. I think it vocal or not vocally, lyrically, it oscillates a little bit between being, you know, a little maybe intentionally vague and a little more like profound and personal. Like I don't know. It's clearly a song about depression and the ways in which that affects you. And sometimes I feel like it gets a little too long distance from the actual subject matter. Like I think if this was a little more of a personal story rather than an observation of someone else's personal story, I think lyrically it would do a little more for me. But like as a whole package, I think it works out great. Like I think like the lines like "when faced with tragedy, we come alive or come undone" is like a very interesting and profound lyric compared to like a lot of what else is here. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's a pop punk Rise Against song. Like they know how to do those well sometimes, and I think this is one of those times.
Yeah, I mean, I think they succeed at that more often than they fail.
Definitely.
It's yeah. I don't know. I just this is the one that just stuck out to me so much. I don't remember. Like I said, I feel like if I had heard this song back when the album came out, I would have liked it then too. But so I don't know what I was doing then. But this one's great.
Yeah. That bit towards the end where they kind of change the lyric that they've been coming back to a little bit, when they say, "and when they see you crack a smile and you'll decide to stay a while, you'll be ready to laugh again." That got me a little. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I even really like the bit before that when he says, "Despite the overwhelming odds, tomorrow came," which is kind of like
that's a really good one. Yeah,
but I think it's really good. It's like a kind of a little hit of like perseverance or whatever at the end there. Next up is The Black Market, the title track. This is, I guess, a song, at least to me, I think is a song about like the song about being in the band and about aging in a band and spending all as a writer, particularly spending all of your time like in these deep, dark, emotional places in order to write songs, and how that takes its toll on you over the years. I think this is an all right song. I like it more thematically, I think, than I like it as a song.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'm pretty on board with that take on it. This song strikes me as a little like it's one of those songs where like I think they're really going hard in the paint on like trying to do something different, and I think it kind of works. The chorus is really catchy on this one. I wrote that the rest of the song is just odd, and I'm honestly not 100% sure what I meant by that. kind of framing it in the context of it being a song about being a songwriter, like I get sorry, my problem with this song lyrically is I don't know who you is. And like it's so vague that it like took me out of the entire thing.
Yeah, it is. I can agree with that.
Yeah, like don't get it twisted. I don't need to be like spoon-fed things that often, but like on this one I'm like this is a like very clearly important relationship to you. And like I know that we all default to like it's a romantic partner, but like it doesn't have to be. And like I just want to know more about this other person and like what they are bringing to the table aside from existing, which would make the song longer, which maybe we don't need.
I mean, I think my read on it is that it is either about his wife or his daughter, is like because I think it's a song about like asking if you are the person that you promised that you would be for your family, if you're able to be there for them. It gets back to that idea of like asking yourself if you deserve comfort, if you can justify your own comfort, I think or like, have I worked hard enough to get that? I think it's sort of the central question of the song, even if I think it doesn't quite get to that in a way that I would want it to.
Fair, yeah. My other thing that I will say is I don't ever need anybody to reference Robert Frost in another song ever again. I've never needed it, and I don't need it going forward.
Oh, it's the nothing stays gold bit at the end.
It's the one. It's the one that's not the two roads diverged in a yellow wood. I want to be clear. I've never read any Robert Frost beyond those two poems.
I honestly forgot that the Nothing Gold Can Stay was a Frost thing. For some reason, I was just like, oh, that's just straight from The Outsiders.
That's from The Outsiders, yeah. A book in which that is deployed very well, and I will admit that. Actually,
it's just straight from Newfound Glory. They originated it.
yeah, Chad Gilbert wrote that with his own hand.
Yep. Let's see. Next up is Eco-Terrorist in Me. This is such a weird song on this album because it's just like, we're kind of like, is this album kind of boring? What are they doing? And then, you can still play fast. You can still go really hard and scream. And it's like, if the whole album sounded like this, people would love it.
Yep.
So it's weird to have this one stand out as much as it does, even though I think it is a pretty good song.
I think it's a very good song. It's one of those things where like they talked in that video about like kind of fan expectations versus what a band full of people who are constantly changing and being influenced by new things and are growing up more or less, like how those two things are always going to be different. People are always going to want the old thing, maybe not always, but people are generally going to want like a specific version of the old thing. And like I feel a little bad liking this song so much because it like this is the most like archetypical Rise Against song without like falling into feeling cliche from them. I don't know. I do feel like this is a little further contextualized by the last song on the extended edition, which we'll get to, just because of the specific use of the phrase eco-terrorist in the title. Because I found God in the sound of your factories burning down is such a fucking good line. Like that's so direct. I love it.
I mean, this song to me feels like a throwback to Suffer in the Witness, both in its sound and its ideas. Like, because it's sort of based around the hook and the chorus. Like, when it all comes down, will you say you did everything you could? And a lot of what we talked about on Suffer in the Witness is like, is this idea that like to truly live a fulfilling life, you have to have taken action in some way. And I think that that idea here also meets this sort of introspective question about comfort that I'm getting through this whole album, is that like, could I allow myself to be comfortable if I didn't do everything I could to in this case, like better the environment or stop like mega corporations from polluting everything. To me, it's like a pretty like good marriage of the political and introspective sides of the band and of Tim's writing.
Definitely.
After that is Sudden Life. This is a strange song. It feels so unlike Rise Against to me, whether that's the kind of the repetitive backing vocals or just the cleanest Tim has like ever sung on a non-acoustic song. I'm not sure what it is. But I don't know. Do you have a read on this one?
Yeah, one, I know we've already kind of talked about the possible feeling of feeling defeated in this context, but man, after that last song, it's really weird to have the first two lines be "I'm floating in the clouds, I'm giving up the fight." Like,
Yeah.
buddy, that was quick.
No, that's a good point about like it is at a weird place in the sequencing, and I think like the next song also makes it feel weird.
Yes.
There's this idea of like light versus dark on this album, but like which one is the good one is like kind of is in this song. Like the idea of light signifies to me like death and or complacency, and this whole this song I think is about like being tempted by complacency, and then trying to find a way out of it, even though I think the lyrics are like kind of the corniest version of that.
Yeah.
But then the next song, Beautiful Indifference, uses the idea of like fire to symbolize like, you know, literal fire within you. So like we've talked about this before, I think more on, I don't remember if it was on Siren Song or on Sufferer, that had some of these kind of like confused metaphors that don't quite add up. And I think it just leads to this album feeling a little, one of the many things that leads to this album feeling a little bit just kind of messy.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that the like kind of descending guitar riff on the chorus is pretty cool. But like beyond that, like there's not a lot that I extract from this song that like seems novel in a good way.
Yeah, I mean it's the 6/8 bridge thing, which then I feel like they've started doing the song in 4/4 but the bridges in 6/8 like multiple times. Like it already is feeling like an old trick for them. And I think it's on 2 or 3 songs on this album. So I don't know if this is one of the ones where they were like, this is a choice we wouldn't have made before, but it's
choice they're making a lot now.
Yeah. But yeah, then I already started talking a little bit about A Beautiful Indifference. But this is the moment on the album where I was like, oh, a lot of these parts, not even that the songs are just long, but the parts are long. It's like it takes too long to get to the next section, although this is actually kind of a shorter song.
A little bit.
But yeah, and it feels like a song about kind of reaffirming personal conviction again, which is kind of some of the same ideas as Sudden Life, but it just presented in a different way and a lot faster. What do you think of this one?
It feels to me like the kind of sequence of the last 3 songs has like kind of been variations on like chapters, I guess. Like it feels like we're hovering around the same theme of like conviction, which like is not a constant thing on this album. But like it really feels like it's concentrated in these 3 songs. But like, yeah, this one really, it feels almost too similar thematically to Sudden Life. But I don't know. There's not a lot for me to like grasp on this song. Like it feels a little standard issue in a lot of ways. Like this sounds like a Rise Against song, but not in a good way necessarily. I think is kind of where I land.
Yeah, it's sort of in that like this, they'd write this in their sleep, I guess, sort of feeling.
The O's at the end are way too much also.
yeah, I think I can agree with that. After that is Methadone. This I think is a very interesting song. I think it's in my, you know, up there with the highlights of the album for me. Because I think this is a sort of explicitly addressing the topic of how addicts are treated by society. And I think at the same time, this is like another one of those like introspective questions Tim is talking about, this idea of like, am I better off on my own? Am I like, do I deserve comfort? And what does society think that people in, you know, the depths of addiction deserve comfort? Obviously, you know, feels like they don't. Like society doesn't think that. Yeah. And obviously the song is arguing that they do. But this one is where some of the sort of tonal and sound and writing experiments of this album pay off for me. I think this is a pretty cool direction for the band.
Yeah, this feels similar to like just the like kind of the way the guitars are and the like kind of textural elements of this song. Like it reminds me a lot of like the heavier like emo leaning stuff from the late 2000s and early 2010s. Early to mid 2010s, I suppose. Like this feels of an era in a way.
It's that 3-3-2 subdivision in the chorus.
Yep, exactly. I think I'm a little less hot on this song than you, but like I do appreciate the like addressing that theme specifically, because I don't think that that's something that Rise Against has touched on. The specific plight of the addict in a society where people write them off almost immediately, like writ large.
Yeah. And I think that the last chorus of this song, like we talked about a lot on how Endgame has a lot of moments where the last chorus changes the lyric in a sort of positive or galvanizing way.
Mm-hmm.
And this song changes the lyrics for the last chorus in like a negative way, which is, I think, kind of an interesting twist on that formula.
Yeah, definitely. This feels like a conscious choice of like going anti-pattern for them, which I do appreciate in a way.
Yeah, it works for me. I think it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
After that is Zero Visibility, where the Southern metal riffs ride again. I think this song is really bad for a couple of reasons. One is the Southern metal thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other is that like this feels like they realized that they didn't have a anti-military like protest song on this album. And so needed to write one, but this comes off as way more negative about the individual soldiers than about the military industrial complex. So there's a little bit of that too. But to me, this is like the song that people who don't like Hero of War accuse it of being.
Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
I don't know. I guess it's just like the surprisingly helpful Gene's annotation that cites a Henry Kissinger quote that says like the military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy. And I feel like this song is like it should be maybe pushing back against that a little bit more. I don't know. I just got like a bad vibe from this song all around.
Yeah, that's fair. Man, I'm glad Henry Kissinger is dead.
Oh well, yes, absolutely.
we don't need to say that out loud on this podcast, I don't think, but I'm saying it out loud. Yeah, that's fair. Like kind of specifically like framing it against Hero of War, which is a by and large very kind song to its subject, despite the terrible things that subject does.
Yeah, well, it's an empathetic song, and I don't think this is an empathetic song.
No, I don't get that impression either. And like that seems out of character for Rise Against, like generally speaking, like not being empathetic to anyone. Well, not anyone, but like most people who are not, pulling the strings, we'll say, is very out of character for them. Like the one bit of credit I'll give this sonically is that everything kind of fits together on this one in a way that I don't feel like the Southern rock stuff on Endgame did. It feels like they got the vocals on board with what the rest of the instruments are doing, but like beyond that, I don't think I can heap much praise on it.
Yeah, I agree with I agree with that 100%. This is the like if I'm gonna set out to fix this album, this is the first thing that gets cut.
I think that's totally fair.
After that is Awake Too Long. It's kind of like doom scrolling the song.
A little bit.
It's just a song about like having to witness everything that is bad in the world and asking like, I mean, literally asks in the song, like, is there bliss in ignorance? But like getting back to this theme that I was kind of pulling out from this record of like, how can I justify my own comfort if all I do is see other people who aren't afforded that comfort in the world, and I think it's the song about how that wears on you, about that feeling of helplessness.
How likely is it that Tim wrote this song after hearing Dream House by Deaf Heaven? Not likely, but not unlikely. No, it's not about the same thing at all. It's just kind of got that bliss in ignorance or bliss in dreams theme going, which is let's just say that's brought on by very different things in Deaf Heaven's case. Yeah, this song is about getting jaded and the ways in which that may or may not help your mental health. Is kind of what I got out of it, which like a literal line I have in my notes is I desire to know less. Right. Which like I get that. I totally get that. And I think it's thematically in line with like kind of what we've been going for on the rest of the record. Because the danger of looking for comfort is, well, like deciding that, well, in order to help myself out, I'm going to just I'm going to just ignore everything that's going on, or most of what's going on, or whatever degree Tim sees as not okay of it.
Yeah, and like, I guess the ending of the song is, I don't know that I'm saying, yeah, I guess the end of the song is like, is saying that like, it is justified to, to be aware of everything, because you kind of have to be, in order to be this like, I don't know, this burning eternal flame that I guess that's what he's aspiring to at the end of the song, despite it feeling like he gives me this weird metaphor of like surgical blades at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that bit, but other than that, I really like the song.
Yeah, I think that the song works pretty well overall. Like it feels like a better version of what they were doing on Sudden Life, honestly. To kind of pull from this album.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think it's a lot better than Sudden Life.
Oh yeah. Like, sorry, to be clear, much better, but also just better in general.
Yeah. After that is People Live Here. This is the sort of return of the acoustic ballad to the Rise Against repertoire. Now with more swelling orchestral strings. This is, I guess, a song that's sort of directly confronting organized religion and the Christian right and the NRA and all of these groups that feels like they get to determine who gets to be comfortable and how. And it sort of hints at the idea that like this like, ridiculous idea that natural disasters are punishment from God, and is sort of just turning that on them and saying like, but we're all people and people live here. Why would God punish this, the entire coast with flooding or hurricanes or whatever, is what I get out of the song, at least.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that one. I do think this song does it does touch a little bit, I think, maybe not directly, but at least a little bit indirectly on this thing that we've talked about before with Rise Against, and the ability for people who do not hold the same ideals as the band to enjoy them. Like we talk about kind of the my dreams are not unlike yours, they long for safety and break like a glass chandelier. Like the core desires of a lot of people are remarkably similar, but the ways in which they justify getting to those ends, the kind of theme of seeking comfort that we've talked about this entire album, are very different, and let's say considerably less considerate of other people as they get their way up there. This is another song with a video, and it I think pretty thematically like aligns with that. It shows some pretty like massive. There's kind of there's one main character, I guess, or I guess a couple main characters, but the one that like keeps getting cut back to is this person who's like appears to be like a real estate developer, lives in a high rise with his like little family, and like, kind of framing that against folks who, live in a lower income area, presumably the area that whatever development that he's designing is about to bulldoze. And like I think it's actually a really, really good video compared to, especially to Tragedy Plus Time, and maybe a little more effective in ways than and by effective I mean, I don't want to say it makes you think, but it makes you engage with the material in a way where it's not telling you what the material is necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, this is harping way too long on a music video that you haven't seen.
I will watch it, but yeah, no, it's good. That does sound like a good treatment for this song. There are two, there's three like moments in the song that I want to call out that I really like.
Yeah,
one is the lyric. There's laughter and there's love just past the edge of our fears. The way that he sings that and the lyric itself is so John K. Samson.
Mm-hmm.
That like, that's the moment where I'm like, I don't know if I was skeptical of the song before that, but that was where I was just like totally fell for the song. I didn't say this before. I really, really like this one. And then I also love the wildfire and it's spreading far from sea to sea to shining sea. This idea that they did that a little bit on Appeal to Reason as well. But I think this is just a thing that I like in Tim's lyrics when he takes like a bit of American iconography and pits it against the impending destruction of the country by whatever means he's talking about in whatever particular song. I think it's just a really effective lyric trick that he does. But the last thing is the Irish blessing in the middle of the song. I like it, but I don't know why it's there.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I wouldn't like remove it or anything, but it is a little jarring.
Yeah. It's just like, it's good lyrics because it's a great bit of traditional writing. But yeah, that was the one part of the song that I was like, why is this here?
Yeah, I definitely agree with it. Like I sorry to just say it out loud. I do love this song. I think it's really good. And yeah, I think specifically the kind of the trick of, using the line from sea to shining sea. Like, I think that is the actually effective version of what they were trying to do, referencing Shakespeare, referencing Robert Frost. Like that feels like a reference. This feels like it is very purposeful and it is trying to evoke an emotion rather than evoke familiarity. Yeah. No, I think this song is tight as hell. And I think this is one of the ones that I definitely like fully missed back when this came out. Because I think the first time I heard it was seeing them play it live, which turns out good live too.
And then we get to the closing track, Bridges. This is kind of a classic Rise Against anthem for the forgotten, overlooked masses who actually build the world.
Yep.
It's just a song about wealth disparity. It's kind of a twin song with the opener, I think, which, that kind of parallelism on an album is good, ties it together.
Mm-hmm.
But just, yeah, this idea that like, there's two very distinct classes of people in the world. There's the 1% and the 99%, if that's how you want to look at it. And this is like a song about how the people that actually put the blood, sweat, and tears into making the world a comfortable place for everyone else often get forgotten.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a great closing track, but it's better than the last couple albums.
Yeah, I think this is the best one we've had in a while. Which is, it's really sad that we dropped off so hard after Survive, really.
I know.
But, man, no, like I think overall I like this song. I don't think it's a great song, but I think it's a really good song overall. Maybe not really good. Good though.
It's another one that feels to me like Rise Against by the Numbers in their sleep, where like I like the thing that they do on autopilot. I just want them to not be on autopilot so often.
Definitely. Like, yeah, class solidarity song from Rise Against is not out of their oeuvre, if you will. But yeah, like I think there's a better version of this song, and I think they could have written it, but they didn't. So
I thought you were going to say there's just a better version of this song and it's on revolutions per minute, which I would probably agree with too.
That wouldn't necessarily be untrue. I guess I could say they've done it before, but we'll give them some grace here.
So I don't know. I think that I do think this album comes together pretty well by the end, give or take a zero visibility.
Sure.
I think we talked a little bit about how Endgame, we just got tired of talking about it by the end. Appeal to Reason ends so strangely that it feels like it's on a downer. I feel like this album is an improvement over those chunks of weird sequencing to me.
Yeah.
Once it gets going, it mostly stays going.
Yeah, I don't again, zero visibility kind of notwithstanding. Like I think this maintains momentum pretty well. We do run into a lot of by the numbers stuff and a lot of especially in the context of an album where they're we're going to try different stuff, getting something that's really by the numbers and doesn't stand out as a result is a little disappointing in its own way.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much right on. I I don't think that this like lands in the anywhere near the top echelon of Rise Against albums. Although I'm glad that I like gave it some more consideration after writing it off for years.
Definitely, yeah. Like I genuinely enjoyed a handful of these songs, and like I will return to them. That said, I don't think I'm going to return to this album as a whole very much.
Not a ton, no. I added a couple songs to my running playlist, which is my where the good songs go.
That makes sense.
We do have a few B-sides. It's an expanded edition or deluxe edition or whatever that has 3 extra tracks. Escape Artist, About Damn Time. Well, we should talk about those two and then hit We Will Never Forget.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I don't think these are like particularly interesting songs. Anything you want to call out about either of them?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you right now. About Damn Time. All I wrote is this one's fine. I don't know. Like that's literally all I have.
Well, do you remember that we saw the very first live performance of this song? It was at the Metro show that I went to.
Right. Yeah.
Which also I noted on Setlist FM was also the live debut of Whereabouts Unknown, which is kind of funny.
That is actually very funny. So Escape Artists is like, it's almost notable in that. So like that song is, as far as I can tell, about starting a commune in the woods and getting away from society. And this song just feels like it has that idea and then it just vamps on different ways of saying that idea. And I don't think it is so static in its motion. Like there's not really any action taken beyond like the first verse, as far as I remember. I'm not looking too deep into it. But like I was just like, okay, yeah, like you're doing this thing. And then the song ended. So I get why it's a B-side.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's why it's on the expanded edition and not on the album. And the last thing on here is We Will Never Forget, which is not a Rise Against song, really. It's a spoken word piece by Will Potter, author of the book Green is the New Red, which has inspired the eco-terrorist in me. And it's just, I mean, this is just a podcast that they pressed to vinyl, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that. It's I mean, it's worth reading or listening to. I guess it's hard to consider it as a song, but it is certainly part of the like project of this album.
Yeah, it's so this is an interesting thing with Rise Against specifically, because they always do the thing where they have some recommended reading, some recommended watching, listening, what have you.
They don't on this album though.
They
right?
don't on this album, yeah. But then we get this expanded edition, and like the required reading is given to you, like it is part of the album, which I find to be a very bold move. I like, part of me is like, I think this belongs on the record, in that like it directly inspired the eco-terrorist in me. But another part of me is like, if you put it in the record proper, like any place except where it is, which is at the end of the expanded edition, where you can just be like, this is nothing. Like the only place it would make sense is like right before the eco-terrorist in me or opening the album. And I don't know that either of those things works.
Well, you shouldn't have a 6-minute spoken word track opening this album, but where it should be is in like the negative space on track 1. So you gotta rewind to hear it, but it's there.
Okay, yes, that one's good actually. I was kind of thinking maybe like an abbreviated version, but like
Yeah, I mean you put a clip of it, but it's presenting the whole thing is it's a bold choice.
I personally I think it's cool, but it is It's very interesting that they did not specifically like do any recommended reading on this one that I'm aware of. But it is, I think it's somewhat made up for in the kind of presentation of this piece, I guess is what you would call it.
Yeah. I think that's all of the stuff we have to talk about for the album.
I think so too.
Yeah, we had kind of a smaller batch of songs this time. But you got a random recommendation for this week?
I feel like since we recorded our last episode like 3 days ago, I was like, did I experience anything new in the last 3 days? And the answer is not really. But that said, I'm gonna kind of dive into recommending something that I've been thinking about lately, which is the Caroline Smith album, Half About Being a Woman. I brought this to the Chorus Record of the Week Club a while ago. But Caroline Smith, who now makes music as Your Smith, is gearing up for a new album, and I've been listening to those singles, and they're very fun. But this record is like a very like time and place type thing for me, where like I got introduced to it by my friend and first Chicago roommate Elliot, like not long after moving here. And like we went to see her play at like City Winery and a couple of other venues, and those have been like very like formative Chicago memories for me. But this is just a really solid like neo soul album from this really like great artist from Minnesota. And I just recommend it. I don't think I can give it much more context than what I've already said, but she's got really great lyric writing skills, a really powerful voice, a great band backing her. That's I think the biggest bummer about her kind of transition into doing this like solo project that is not actually under her name is that like that's her in a computer as opposed to like a 6-person band, which absolutely ruled. But I also understand why that's not sustainable when you're not huge. But yeah, Half About Being a Woman. Troy, you listened to that one when I brought it to the thing, right?
I did. Yeah, it's really good. It's been a while. I think it was pre having a second child, so I don't remember it super specifically, but
that's fair.
I do remember liking it.
Yeah. Cool. What you got?
I am going to put on my nerd hat, which I really have never taken off my entire life.
Of course.
And recommend the Star Wars TV show Andor.
Yeah.
The second season just came out or premiered. First 3 episodes premiered on Tuesday as of this recording. This is the best Star Wars thing, at least since The Last Jedi, if not even further back. It is just a spectacular show about, one very small, basically side character from the movie Rogue One, and just showing his journey into the rebellion. And it's the most explicit Star Wars has ever been about the process of fighting fascism, which is like really what Star Wars is about. And this show is about that in great detail. It's a wonderful, wonderful show. Just one of the best things on TV, Star Wars or not.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find a way to watch season 2. I'll put it that way, because I don't currently have Disney Plus. Great show. I'm excited to see more of it. And also, like, it is wild to me that in a post Disney acquiring Star Wars world that we got this. And like,
oh, yeah.
I know in a world where we get Star Wars stuff every 3 weeks, like something like this was bound to happen. Like, it still feels a little wild.
I mean, that's the thing, is I don't know that it was like bound to happen. It really is. It's so rare that that a big like IP factory or whatever hands the keys even to one of their smaller bits of that property to someone as singular a writer as Tony Gilroy. Like I don't know that I can think of many other examples of that happening. Like I don't know that there's a Marvel thing that is that subversive and that like interesting in what it's the ideas that it's trying to play within its fantastical world. Like I'm sure there's something out there, but like I don't know what it is. This is the thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, I was mostly just thinking law of large numbers type things, but fair point.
Yeah. I mean, I guess even despite like I said, law of large numbers, I think that these brands try to retain so much control over every little bit of their branding that it's hard for something great to come out of that. Even though I watch all of it, and a lot of it is not good. But I mean, The Last Jedi and Andor are two. I don't know. I could go on for a long time about how great and important those two things are. But I won't do it on this podcast.
That's fair.
Invite me on your Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, any Star Wars podcasts out there, hit us up. And by hit us up, I mean hit Troy up, because my knowledge of Star Wars is more limited. I do like Star Wars. I am not as deep as other people are, like you and Dan.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's it for this week. So subscribe to this podcast if you're not already subscribed to it for some reason.
Please.
Yeah, find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com, on Instagram at noisefloorpod, and we will be back next week talking about wolves.